we start our first section, the Krakow, the solidarity section. And now I invite our next speaker to make his presentation. Our next presenter will be Mr. Zsolt Németh, the chairman of the Hungarian, of the Foreign Affairs Committee of the Hungarian Parliament. And he will speak about his memories and Roger Scruton and Hungary.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Dear Sophie, welcome to Budapest. We are very honored you are with us. And I would like to greet all of our guests coming from different distances. My first question, what brought us together with Roger Scruton? Actually, two periods I would like to differentiate. The first period was the time of fighting communism, which was subsequently followed by the systemic change in Central and Eastern Europe in 1988 to 1990. I had the privilege to study at Oxford University with the help of George Soros. The George Soros scholars were in quite high number studying in the 80s in Britain. I see one of them here, Ferenc Hörcher. But I would also like to mention the name József Szájer, who is one of the author of the present Hungarian fundamental law, or the prime minister of this country also was a Soros scholar at Oxford University. I had the privilege to study for 1 year at St. Anthony's College in 1988-89, and I got to know the gentleman who was mentioned by Sophie as well, Marek Matrasek, who was also studying at Oxford University in those days, and he is now on my left. He was the person who introduced us to one another. And then, thanks to him and thanks to our acquaintance with Roger, I got to know a lot of people and a lot of institutions. Just to name a few, the so-called British Helsinki Committee was extremely devoted to following developments in Central and Eastern Europe. And this committee had a network of individuals, and these individuals have tried to focus their activity on certain countries with certain separate funds were established. To name a few, Jessica Douglas-Hume was one who was very actively involved, especially the Romanian activities. The Mihai Eminescu Trust was the pet institution for Jessica. The Stone couple, Norman Stone, who was at that time a professor at the Oxford University, and Christine Stone, the wife of Norman Stone. Mark Almond, who was also a professor at the Oxford University at the time, history professor, and many others. And that was the time I bumped into the Salisbury Review, which was the journal of Norman Stone, established in Roger Scruton, established in 1982, a key organ of conservative thinking, and actually that was the organ of communication for Roger at the time, paying a very special attention on developments in East Central Europe, as it was quite normal at the time on behalf of Roger. So it was a great paradox, wasn't it, dear colleagues, that George Soros played a crucial role in our friendship, Hungary's and Roger Scruton's friendship. God knows if without that we would have this conference today, and the entire Scruton Renaissance in Hungary would actually take place. The period we are talking about started roughly 40 years ago, as this conference stipulates it. 40 years, it means that 1984, and this period probably, if we add the post-communist period of this, somewhere around 1998 it ends, roughly 14 years, when Roger Scruton and the Eastern Central European political opposition had struggled and sometimes got into power, sometimes lost that power again. Here he found, as it was said in the previous lecture, that he could not really find in the West, since his conversion to conservatism, which happened probably in Paris under his Paris studies. Let's fix it, 1968. That was the time of his conversion to conservatism, but he did not find this sort of conservatism in Britain too much, but he found that in East Central Europe. He called it the New Right. Actually, there was a New Right, obviously, in the West as well, as a reaction to 1968. But we had also a 1968 in Central Europe, didn't we? And there was a reaction to that as well in Czechia, to name a few. The martyr philosopher, whom we will hear more about today, Patočka, and other thinkers like Bratinka and Benda. Or in Poland, he found the New Right. If we mention the name Karol Wojtyla, the later John Paul II, or even it is very interesting to recall the views of Adam Michnik in this period, but probably Marek will talk more about this aspect, which is equally an interesting parallel, that Roger had relations in Hungary with especially the beszélőköre, with the underground journal Beszélő, János Kis, Vajda Mihály, TGM, Tamás Gáspár Miklós. But he also paid attention to the Christian national opposition of the time, like he was quite aware of the legacy of István Bibó, who also raised his attention, and I think we should pay much more attention to the legacy of István Bibó. We don't have appropriate English language publications in proper depth, and we would definitely need that to present the depth and complexity of the thinking of István Bibó. A very good account about this new right in Central Europe is in his book, Me a konzervativizmus. What is conservatism? The first volume of Roger Scruton, published in 1995. I don't think you met by that time either. So 1995, the first book was published by the Windsor Club. I will have a few words about the Windsor Club. To Zsolt with fond regards, the dedication, 95 June the 3rd. We had a book fair at the time, and Roger visited when this book was shown. In this period, in the opposition years, I am convinced that the most decisive influence on Roger was the famous debate on Central Europe. Milan Kundera wrote the essay, The Stolen West, the Tragedy of Central Europe, and this essay was published in the French journal Débat in 1983. And Milan Kundera has compared the historical development of Russia and Europe in societal and political dimensions as well. And there have been plenty of reactions to this in the whole region on behalf of the Slovak Šimečka, the Polish Miloš, the Hungarian Vajda Mihály. And obviously, this whole debate was embedded into an ongoing debate in Hungary, which was generated by the reinvention of István Bibó's writing, and especially Szűcs Jenő's writing on the three historical regions of Europe. So the groundwork in Hungary was quite developed about this subject. Roger Scruton so was present throughout this whole debate. He paid attention to the developments in all three countries, encouraged the cooperation between the different opposition forces. Somehow he felt he needs to mediate between them. And I don't think it is an accident from historical dimension and from the opposition period as well, that these three states have joined first NATO. These three states have formed the Visegrad cooperation in 1991 later on, and we still have a commitment towards the ideal of Visegrad, the deep Visegrad, against the fact what's happening on the surface of politics. Because on the surface of politics we have ups and downs, but there is a deep Visegrad, and this deep Visegrad played a crucial role in the relationship of Roger with Central Europe. So let us ask again what brought Roger Scruton to Central Europe. Many things. Obviously, he bumped into Lukács György, the apostle of international Marxism, who was throughout the whole century a key figure, and he could not avoid writing and studying Lukács György in depth. Roger had a genuine interest in the modus operandi of real socialism, the relationship between the left Marxist ideology and the practice of communist dictatorship, the reality and the slogans, as it was said. His adventurous character and his non-conformist attitude to everything, I think all this played a role, and we have to make it clear that Roger was not only an important theoretician of conservatism, but also he was probably one of the best theoreticians of Marxism, of communism, of different theories, of left ideologies and tendencies. But above all, I do agree also with the previous statement that the most important was for him that he found this new right in Central Europe, and he found that credible. The intensity and the depth of intellectual life in Central Europe of the time, let us underline, of the time, attracted him. Simply, he really felt himself at home in our region in Central Europe. And then we arrived to 1988, 1990, and it was the miracle for him, and it was a miracle to all of us who lived through that period. For him, it was a compensation for the decade-long witch hunt in the academic world of the United Kingdom. The miracle of the peaceful and the democratic transition was a major life experience for him, as we can read in his essay on the reflections on the East European revolutions, which is a fantastic essay, actually. And then onwards, 1990, 1998, in this period, his interest did not vanish in the region. On the contrary, he paid a lot of attention to Central Europe in both intellectual and practical sense. An example for this was his lecture at the Corvinus University in 1993 on liberal conservatism in Central Europe. This was largely motivated by a fear from the political return of the left, as actually it happened in the whole region, and was a kind of challenge to the public to counter this process. In 1993, he came to practically act and help by establishing the Windsor Club. The Windsor Club mission was twofold. As Jonathan Sunley, the Hungarian participant of this Windsor Club, developed it. One, to popularize in the region conservatism, and secondly, to build bridges between different political tendencies of the right, Christians, conservatives, and the rest. There were conferences organized by the Windsor Club in the region and in Britain as well. For example, in 1994, we have organized a conference on the future of the right in Hungary with the participation of Viktor Orbán and Baba Ivan and many others. We published books. This book, what I mentioned, was the first Scruton volume in Hungarian, What is Conservatism? The political identity in the end of this effort, of this political formation, of this alliance, which came into existing by 1998. So it was namely civic, but it was conservative in content. That is a good question, and he reflects upon this. Why this kind of shyness concerning the usage of the conservative term, not only here, but in the whole Western world, was so prevalent. Probably today, this is the time what now we are experiencing, that this approach concerning conservatism is vanishing. So I think we can state that Roger Scruton's heritage and commitment towards us became a cementing component in the political life and in the civic cooperation, the polgári együttműködés, which was coming into power in 1998, and subsequently the first Orbán government was established in that very year. The second period of our coming together and our closer cooperation, I would say, was after 2010 and lasted until the death of Roger in 2020. This was not anymore the period of transition from dictatorship to democracy. This was not anymore fighting with communism and post-communism, but it was the age of cultural war, or I would say the conservative revolution in Central Europe. The multiple challenges of this period we know quite well, even the younger ones who are here. The migration crisis, the wokeism, including especially the problem of the gender questions, Brexit, and the birth of a coercive European Union, which was especially targeting Poland and Hungary. This coercive European Union is extremely well analyzed by George Schöpflin. In his last book, he analyzed very deeply how the European Union went from coordinating entity into a coercive entity. And in this period, Roger became a regular guest again, lectures on the need for nations at the Hungarian Academy of Sciences, an open society at the Central European University, the Soros University. He entered that cave with the braveness that was so characteristic for Roger. On music at the Liszt Ferenc University, and gradually his books started to appear in Hungarian language, which is still happening. European conservative hubs and organs close to Roger recognized and reached out to Hungary, like plenty of entities. I would like to mention a very important one to my heart, which is the Vandenburg Society, or the European Conservative, which is a very important organ of the conservative thinking. In this period, leaving behind the problems of communism and post-communism, we have turned our attention to civilizational challenges of the West and that of the European integration. Who remained inside the EU. Unfortunately, we lost in this battle Britain. Probably Roger did not mind it so much, but we did mind that. The cultural self-defense against wokeism has become the major intellectual front line to fight. I do remember him at our last meeting at his house, reading in his wheelchair the book on Douglas Murray, on the madness of crowds. It is here. Yes, it's there. Quote, "I will have to write a book review about this. It was very important to him, though he was ill, as they were very close fighters with Douglas Murray in this cultural war. And not surprisingly, Douglas Murray regards him, quote, the most important conservative thinker of our time. A few words about his recognition. We are in the Polish section, so I would like to mention two rare events of genuine recognition of Roger Scruton in Poland. Actually, both in Warsaw. But both events had a broader European and regional character. The first one was the Lech Kaczynski Prize, June 2016, when President Duda presented it, and I had the privilege to speak in the name of his Hungarian friends. And what a fabulous dinner, Marek, you have given to us. The other event was the East European Opposition Memorial Conference at Sejm, on the invitation of Marshal Kuchcinski in June 2019, on the 30th anniversary of the semi-free elections of Poland, which happened in 1989. We had Wittner Mária, and the 1956 freedom fighter, being present there. Szalai Attila, who was a link between Solidarność and the Hungarian opposition in the 80s. And I had also the privilege to be there. And Roger addressed the event as a keynote speaker in the Polish Sejm, in the main chamber. And who could have addressed the Central European opposition representatives better about our past, present, and future, better than Roger Scruton? A few words about the continuous character assassination of Roger Scruton. In 2019, there was an interview which was manipulated in the New Statesman in a very ugly manner. The cultural war of the progressive circles targeted Roger Scruton by now very viciously. Racism and the friendship of Viktor Orbán were among the key accusations. The British government suspended him as a consequence as a government commissioner for the protection of London architectural heritage. This form of murderous character destruction, I'm sure, must have played a role in the arrival of his serious and fatal illness. 5 years ago, around springtime, we had a lunch together in London. I would like to quote Roger, how I remember. I had a trip to hell. I went through the passion of Christ. Now I understand much better Christ's sacrifice, and my personal faith has become much stronger in me. The experience of this type and also his regular church service as an organ player at his local church, I'm sure were decisive steps in his relationship to religion and to God. In 2019 December, Prime Minister Orbán decorated Roger with the Order of Middle Cross with Star at the London Hungarian Embassy. The Prime Minister underlined, I believe that was the key message of the life of Roger, that conservatism is anything but an ideology. Orbán said, actually, it is just the opposite. As we can read here, conservatism is more an instinct than an idea, very close to this quote. Actually, Roger was never an ideologue, but as we are going through this day, we will experience a person with this distinct, yes, story, mentality, attitude that was reflected in all spheres of life, be it music, architecture, art, wine, cooking, hunting, or political thinking. And finally, what's today? What's happening today? There is in Hungary a visible Scruton renaissance. Books, conferences like this one, cafes all over the city. I would like to underline the role of the MCC, what MCC plays in this process. They play a crucial role. Hopefully, soon the complete works of Roger Scruton will be published in Hungarian, which is a commitment by MCC. And I would like to express my gratitude to Sophie, who also understood this surprising phenomenon. Thanks to her, yes, the conservative revolution is an oxymoron, but it is real here. And if it exists, then it is possible elsewhere as well. And that is our hope, and that was the hope of Roger Scruton as well. Thus, Central Europe, with Hungary in it, has become the intellectual and spiritual home of Roger Scruton. Our region played a special role in his life and work. Thanks to the present day organizers, thanks to the Scruton Legacy Foundation for being with us today as well. This topic on Central Europe and Scruton is often sidelined. Let us not allow this happening. One important message from heaven by him, that we must, Central Europeans, go together, especially in the V4 countries, with the constant attention, obviously, to the West and to the East, and to politics and to culture. Roger Scruton, I believe, is an honorary citizen of Hungary. Let us respect him and let us study his legacy. I have, in the past couple of minutes, analyzed two periods of Roger Scruton's relationship to Hungary and the region. The first ended with a miracle. We should not forget that we have been part of a miracle. Let us believe that the second period, the period of the cultural war and the so-called conservative revolution in the West, will also will end with a similar miracle, with its victory. Thank you very much for your attention.